Hello, teacher. Today I'm going to present the power of the language, how words shape people and culture. Well, the introduction is language is something that all countries, cultures, and people have in common, which is why it has always been an object to study and understand what makes it enigmatic for us to know how with different language, grammars, and phonetic, we are able to reach transmitting the same message to a person who is not related to us, but in the same way, transmitting a message can give a different interpretation. And that is very much has been studied about how language works all over the world. One of the points of this topic is understanding stereotypes. Sometimes greeting certain sentences or greeting something that is not necessarily bad or has to give a discriminatory message may not always be well received by other people or group in the society. And that is why how a sentence is planted greatly influences because that will give a message in each social group that get the message. For example, it's not the same if you talk, for example, one example of this point is that I remember is um, girl, girls are uh, good as boys in maths, for example. Maybe it's not a bad intention implies in the sentence, but maybe other people can interpret that girls uh, are bad in maths or boys are better in mathematics. So it depends how you write the sentence and how the people um, interpret it because it's a different ways to perceive the message. And other point is how other language in from our own. The comprehension and the variance of the language are very abundant. An example of this is in Spanish, because Spanish has a lot vocabulary, has a lot variations to say one thing or to name one object or action or other things, no? Um, its vocabularies and the way in which you refer to something in Mexico, maybe it's different in Spain or some other or Latin America country, for example. It's not the same. Uh, for example, a bus or camion in Spanish in Mexico to Spain or Argentina. So it can be changed. And this is interest because the society and the people change and make these variations of the vocabulary. And it's interesting to put and to learn this list of vocabulary in different countries. Um, which giving us the time to be able to understand a little more of the variations of our language, and others is a door that helps us to better understand the communication between human beings. For example, in this table is not the same to say lavabo is in Spain, but lavatorio is in Chile and Argentina, and lavamanos is in Venezuela and Mexico. Or for example, calzón that maybe is in Chile, eh, bragas or ropa interior may be in Spain or in Mexico. It depends the the society and the country. The other point of this topic is language as lens into behavior. The different social groups that use the internet have different language within their communities. Language, there are sometimes the formations of grammar or the way of greeting words or referring to a person or thing. Uh, the point of this explanation in this part of the presentation is when you you have a group in your city, in your state, in your country, uh, can have some variations of the vocabulary or the way to speak or communicate, because this is very common and this is uh, different in other countries. For example, it's not to say when you say uh, chale in Spanish, in Mexico in Spanish, when you say, or when we have a different way to say chale in Colombia, or in even in United States. And it's more common the contractions or the deformations of the language, of the way to speak in social media, for example, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, TikTok, or when the people playing video games online, or when the people have a meeting on Instagram or WhatsApp, and when you talk when a person of other language, other country, sorry, or other even on other state of the country. So um, we have some examples. For example, back to square one, it's vuelta a empezar, or know the ropes is maybe an idiom on English, and the traduction of the way to say in Spanish maybe could be el diablo está en los detalles. So this is the idioms on the way to say different things. I have some questions in this presentation. The number one is, do you know abbreviations of any language? The second is, do you know other types of Spanish or English idioms? The third is, how written certain sentence influence your mind? Number four is, do you have a particular way of talking to friends or family? And the last is, do you know how to speak another language and its idioms? So these questions are very simple, but it can have interesting uh, different answers. So the conclusion of this presentation is, speaking a language or more not only implies learning the grammar or uh, to to have the formal way to speak or write the language. You also have to work to learn the master of different ways of expressing it, since many times the informal way of reading or speaking is what is most used on a daily day in the society, regardless of the country or ethnicity which you belong. In my personal opinion and experience, I have family in the US. So when I have to speak with this family, with my cousins or with my uncle, I don't use the formal English. So I have to use contractions, I have to use idioms, I have to use the vocabulary that they know, because it's not the same. And in cases when I have to use English, for example, the last summer I have to travel to to Europe, and when I stay in Paris and I have to speak English, some people that I have to talk uh, didn't know the contractions or the idioms that the US, because Europe are related with British English. So this is the variations and related with the other parts of the topic, because American English is is more informal than British English, because it's not the same to when you have to say, For example, I want candies in American English, and I want sweets. So it's different, and I think it's very interesting to learn other language and try to talk the formal way and the informal way, because it's a it's a tool that you need when you travel if you want, because try to learn other language open a door and to have a good experience, or maybe staying in other country. So that's all for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and see you the next class.